Hi everyone, I'm back. I was checking my podcast on Spotify and I realized that the very first episode I published was sometime in June of 2020, and the very last episode I published was sometime in August 2022. Something happened to me at the end of 2024. I was in church in Ibadan and a lady walked up to me and said, "Oh, hi, I love your podcast." And for some seconds, I blanked out because I was like, "Podcast?" And she was like, "Yeah, your podcast." And I said, "Oh, crap, I do have a podcast. I do have that." But I completely forgot about it. But, like they say, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The next best time is now, I guess. The next best time to come back to my podcast that has been asleep for over 3 years is now. So here I am. Okay, because it's been such a long time, roughly 3+ years since my last episode, a lot has happened. Actually, a whole lot has happened. And this will be somewhat of a reintroduction before every other thing that I want to share. For those of you who may not be aware, this is Dear Young Person by EhnTee. Actually, Dear Young Person by Ntonga, but Dear Young Person by EhnTee. And what I typically do is address things that I have learned as I have grown. I started this podcast when I was, trying to remember how old I was in 2020. Probably 22, 23. No, I was 24. Oh, yeah. I was 24 because I remember that I celebrated my birthday by doing a shoot for my 25th. And that was end of... Okay, no, I was 23. Wow. I am so old, I do not even remember how old I was in just like how many years. Anyway, a lot has happened. I was 23 then. I am 28 now. Almost 29. Like, it's just right there. It's just waiting to take me in its grasp. Anyway, all of that to say, this is a reintroduction. So I'm going to be bringing you up to speed on all that's happened between August 2022 and right now, which is like the end of 2025, before I introduce the other episodes. So it's catch-up time. Yes. So in August, when I released my last episode, which was with my friend Posh, and we talked about overbearing or overprotective parents, just pretty much how your parents sometimes could be overbearing, but it's because they love you and they really care about you, and sometimes they could actually be so overprotective that it's difficult for you to even come out of that shell and be your own person. So from then till now, life news. I got married in November of 2022, and that's probably part of the reasons why my podcast is now a video podcast, because I married a media person, a forward-thinking woman. That's who I am. I knew that sometime in my future I would want to come back to my podcast. And I said, how do I ensure that in my future I don't have to pay for it? Because do you know how expensive media stuff is? Oh my God. But yeah, forward-thinking woman. I got married in 2022. Then in 2023, I got a new job. I started working with a company called Norbase. It was in this role, actually, that I did a lot more content-related stuff. Because at the beginning of 2023, I started a series that God had placed in my heart, I Love Jesus But, which was pretty much addressing these seemingly little things that believers experience that seems like, oh, it's so contrary to your faith. So why and how are you a believer yet going through stuff like this? So things like anger, things like jealousy, things like depression, things like lying, things like using cuss words. It was a 6-part series, which I did at the start of 2023. So by June 2023, I had gotten some experience sitting in front of the camera and just yapping. So I joined Norbase, and in my time there, I started a series, not really like a series per se, but I was posting videos, like talking head videos similar to this one, but not as pretty as this one. So like talking head videos similar to this one, where I talked about what the company did and I explained some legal concepts and all of that. And I released one very cringe video, which every time I think about it, I'm like, how could I do such a thing? How could I have done such a thing? Anyway, it was a rap battle-esque kind of video that I did between trademark and incorporations, which the person that edited it really did a great job. The person that produced the song too really did a great job. The person that did that is the person I married, so I guess I did a great job. Yay me! Oh, that's so London Tipton. I miss old Disney. Anyway, so that happened. And in 2024, something else happened. I became a UK global talent. What this means is that I was endorsed by Technician as an exceptional, promising exceptional talent. It matters not what it's called. But anyway, I got that endorsement sometime in September 2024, and by November 2024, we had relocated to the UK. And this was my first experience with being global, right? I'd always, if you check on my Twitter, you'd see that I don't use Twitter so much anymore anyway. But on my Twitter, what is written is global voice. And this was like a word I got sometime in 2022, I think. And I had no idea what it meant. I thought it meant, oh, poetry, you do poetry, you know. It's easy to just put stuff on streaming platforms and it goes live and goes wide and all of that. Anyway, I got endorsed. I came to the UK. And yeah, that's where I live now with my husband, where I can do videos. Also, in 2024, I put out my very first poem on streaming platforms. My very first poem that I have published. It's titled The First Noel by EhnTee. And in this, or like for this poem, I did a collaboration with my brother, God's Power, GP, Alfred Epo. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the last name right. And a couple of other people from Celebration Church Worship Ibadan. So the very lovely voices you will hear belong to them. And then the talking person voice that you will hear belongs to me. I will be doing a lot more of that in coming years. Hopefully. And I really hope I don't end up treating it the way I treated this podcast, which really lay fallow for a long time. Anyway, that's pretty much a snapshot of all that happened before I decided to resurrect Dear Young Person. But I am really excited about the different topics that we'll cover, because I think in that space of time, I have grown a lot more. I have learned a lot more. I mean, I started at 23 because I was giving advice based off my experience and what I had learned from those who had gone ahead of me. And now I have I'm in my late 20s, so I have a lot more experience and a lot more advice to give. Maybe unsolicited, but it is what it is. And I've had some people tell me how helpful this advice rather has been. So I hope you find this helpful. Let someone know, tell someone to tell someone to tell someone else that Dear Young Person by EhnTee is back.